So when the Apostle Paul said women should learn quietly and submissively, was he oppressing women? Many people seem to think so, and they're deceiving others into believing that lie. But we're going to clear that up in this video. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Bible Stories My Dad Told Me. My name is Luis Feliz, and as I promised, let's go ahead and clear this issue up with Paul and the comments that he said. But first, I do want to share a reason of why am I doing this video. This is actually so outside of my Bible plan that I have, but I felt compelled to do so. So here's what happened. So I was on TikTok, and on Instagram, and I was watching, a live video from Jelaine. Now, Jelaine, she's like an amazing content creator. I will leave her links on the description. She has an amazing TikTok, Instagram, also a YouTube channel, and she's very passionate for Christ, and she posts very funny content. She does Bible stories and so on. So as I was watching her video, I see this happening. Roll the clip.
Oh, thank you. It says, please read 1 Timothy. It says this: a woman should learn in quietness and full submission. I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over a man. She must be quiet, for Adam was formed first, then Eve, and Adam was not the one deceived. It was the woman who was deceived and became a sinner.
All right, y'all. So as you can see, this individual requests from Jelaine to read these words, knowing obviously that she's a woman and she's doing a Bible study, on Instagram. Now, we do not know, nobody knows this person's intent. And hats off to Jelaine because she handled it beautifully. Again, she read the scriptures as she was requested, and then she gave her answers on her beliefs and convictions regarding the scriptures. But you can still tell, that there's some friction when it comes to these words. So I went ahead and I left a very short comment, but then after reading everybody else's comments, again, it's in the surface. It's right there. You can see it. There's friction when it comes to these words. So I'm like, you know what? With the word of God, we don't let friction go by and turn a blind eye. No, we handle it. So that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to handle the friction so that way everybody can be very clear on what is the purpose of having these words on such a life-giving book. All right. So we're going to go pull it up. The verse, it is 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 11 to 14. Now, mind you, during this video, I'm going to address only 11 to 12. Now, why is that? Because verses 13 to 14, Paul is literally citing historical facts, something that just happened. There should be no friction there if you are a mature reader. He's just saying, look, this is what happened, X, Y, Z. But 11 and 12, that's where the friction is, okay? So let's go ahead and pull it up. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 11 to 14. Let's go ahead. It says, women should learn quietly and submissively. I do not let women teach men or have authority over them. Let them listen quietly. For God made Adam first, and afterwards he made Eve. And it was not Adam who was deceived by Satan. The woman was deceived, and sin was the result. Now, folks, you can understand why verses 13 to 14, they don't need to be addressed. If you are an intelligent reader, which I believe you are, you know that these are just historical facts. There is nothing to be offended or have friction with these last two verses. However, the first two, absolutely, I can understand why some people will have friction with this. And when they read it, they're like, oh my God, what does that mean? That does not feel nice. So let's go ahead and address that. So if you are somebody that your identity, right, is rooted on what the world says you should be or what society says you should be or should do or not do, you're going to read these words and you're going to be distracted because these words, they have certain meanings, but then you're going to create your own meanings. Then you start creating that meaning, and then that meaning is going to start making you feel a certain way, right? You feel a certain way now about the word of God. What does that mean to be silent, to be submissive, to listen quietly? What do you mean that, I cannot teach men? What does that mean? And that is all attached by having your identity rooted on what the world says you should be or should not be, and so on and so on. So then you start getting separated from God, because those meanings that you've created, because they're in alignment with what the world says. In comparison, somebody that does understand who they are under God, they know their identity 100%. They know, what, my identity is what God says I am. Then they can read these words and they will receive the power and the freedom that comes with it. But then you have to ask yourself, right? then what is the difference besides the obvious difference, which is somebody that trusts God, somebody that trusts the world, right? But what happens is that people that trust the world, they speak louder about stuff in the Bible sometimes. But we're still going to go ahead and address it. So that way, the people that believe that this is oppressive, I'm going to present to you, a scenario, an illustration. So that way you can destroy and blow up that idea that these words are meant to oppress you. Because I am certain that there are women that read this that are rooted with God and they have no problem with this. But I want to share an illustration for you so that way you can be completely clear that these words are not meant to take life away from you. Not at all. If you know God, if you know Christ, you know that all that they want for us is to give us direction, purpose, and to walk with us. So that way we can live in this world in peace, harmony, truth, and justice. Okay? So let's go ahead and move on. So here's what I want to tell you before I give you an illustration is the following, is do not fall for the trap and the deception from people that do not understand their identity in God. Don't fall for the trap. I know sometimes, these voices are very loud. They're very loud, but that doesn't mean it's the truth. So here's the illustration I want to give you. So when you read, women should learn quietly and submissive, you're like, what? No, I'm not. I'm not going to be quiet and submissive. No, I have a voice. I want to use it. I have freedom. I am powerful. Right? Well, now let me ask you something. And I'm going to put a video here. You know who these guys are? These guys are Navy SEALs. Do you think that when they are in a briefing with their commander, do you think that they listen quietly and submissively? Or do you think they just stand up and start interrupting the briefing before their mission? Or what about that same Navy SEALs when they're in training, when they're in buds, when they're getting their crap beat out of them, so that way they can learn how to be, the most lethal soldiers in the world? Do you think they submit? Of course they do. Of course they do. So I bring this to you so that way you can wake up and see with your own eyes that sometimes when you read these words and your heart is not in the right place, you're going to interpret them in a way that deceives you and brings you down. And it brings you down so much so that you start questioning whether or not God has your best interest. There is something very powerful about understanding, that there is a place in which we should submit ourselves to an authority, to somebody that knows more about a topic, that knows more than us. And that should be comforting rather than offensive. So it's not oppressive for a woman to sit there and listen quietly and submissively. I do that. You've done that before. If you sat in a classroom before in your life, you have sat there quietly and submissively, and you did not feel at all that it was oppressive. But for some reason, the world wants to make you feel and think that when these words are brought to your attention from God, it is oppressive. And it is not. It's a lie. It's deception. I want to wake you up to it so that we can listen and start thinking for yourself instead of thinking what other people want you to think. I want you to see it with your plain eyes. Okay? So do not be deceived by the lies that suggest that the word of God is trying to oppress you and keep you down. Understand that the word of God is there to give you life. And if you find it difficult sometimes to find the life in certain words, that does not mean the word of God is flawed. That just means that our logic and our growth is still in need of development. So hopefully that makes sense to all of you. If you found value in this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next video. God bless you. Bye.